Hey, do you remember Richard Cockerill, who used to be a hooker for the English Rugby team a number of years ago? Well, this weekend he's going to be the coach of the Georgia men's international 15 rugby team, taking on the Springboks in the beautiful Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. And in this video I'm going to give you my preview for that game, so let's get into it. G'day everyone, welcome to Inside Rugby with Mark. If you haven't been here before, my name is Mark. I'm a retired Kiwi bloke who's living in beautiful Cancun in Mexico, and I'm a huge rugby fan. Now, before we get into today's episode, a quick one for you. Here's the North Harbour Rugby Stadium in New Zealand. It's just north of Auckland, and it's got a seating capacity of 19,000 rugby fans. And that's roughly how many subscribers I've got to my channel at the moment. But I have some lofty goals with this YouTube channel, and I would love to have enough subscribers to fill up the Twickenham Stadium in London, which has a current seating capacity of 84,000. So if you can help me get there, that would be absolutely fantastic. But all jokes aside, if you like my content, please hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost you anything. Give this video a thumbs up and a like. Okay, preview show. We're going to talk about South Africa taking on Georgia, and of course the Springboks are coming off the back of a successful two-match series against Italy at home in South Africa. And Georgia are going to be travelling to South Africa after being beaten by Ireland in their last international so far this year. So Richard Cockerill's team's coming to the Lions Den to take on the mighty Springboks. And what has Rassie done? Well, he's sprung a few surprises on us. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens this weekend, and I've got a few ideas around what Rassie's going to be looking for in this new look Springbok team yet again. So let's have a look at the Springboks team, and I'll give you my views and opinions around certain positions. So let's start off and look at the backline that Rassie has selected for this weekend. Okay, we'll start off at the back three, and we're going to see Rassie back in at fullback this weekend. Of course, we saw Willie le Roux get his 100th cap last week, which was absolutely fantastic for all the fans of South African rugby, but for rugby in general, it's always great to see a player getting the milestone of 100 caps for his nation. But we're going to see Rassie back this weekend, and I think this is sending us a little bit of a message on what we're going to be looking at going forward with the Springbok team. On the wing, we saw enough from Edward van der Meer to get another chance this week, which is a great thing. I think he scored a couple of good tries last week against Italy. He's back this weekend against Georgia, and he's going to be joined on the other wing by Kurt-Lee Arendse. And boy, I like Arendse. I think he's playing tremendous rugby at the moment. He's a try-scoring machine as well. So that's going to give South Africa some potent power in the back three, and I can't wait for them to be unleashed and see what they can do against this Georgia team. Moving inside to 12 and 13, we're going to see Canan Moodie back in the 13 jersey. Thought he had a good game. I apologise to all the South African fans for not giving him a big rap last week in my video. I should have done so. I thought he played really well in that game against Italy, and then so did Rassie, obviously, because he's coming back again this week to have a go against Georgia. Inside him, we're going to see the usual 12, Damian de Allende, and going to be really interesting to see how this combination works between de Allende and Canan Moodie. Obviously, we're used to seeing Jesse Kriel outside Damian de Allende, so this is a new combination. Let's see how it goes. I'm excited to see how it goes this weekend. And then moving inside, we've seen a change again at number 10. Of course, last weekend we saw Mani Lebok and we saw Sasha come on at fullback. This time we've got Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu coming on at number 10. And he's going to be partnering with Grant Williams in the 9 jersey this week. And Grant Williams was my standout player for the Springboks last weekend. I thought he had a tremendous game, scored that brilliant try in the 8th minute, and just showed us what he can do with his speed and electric foot off the base of the rucks and the scrum. So I'm pleased to see Grant Williams and Ngomazulu getting a chance to play together. That's going to be one of the things I'm keeping my eye out on. So there we go, that's the starting backline for this game. I think it's a tremendous backline. Let me know what you think in the comments. So let's move on to the forwards now, and it's unlike Rassie to make changes, isn't it? So we've got some changes coming in again this weekend. So let's start off in the number 8 position. It's Cobus Wiese, and of course we saw Jasper do that silly thing last weekend, and he's not going to be playing, but it's good to see the family name still on the park this weekend. So it's going to be Wiese at number 8. Okay, then moving on to the loosies, and the man is back. Yes, I'm talking about Siya Kolisi, of course. He's coming back into the team this weekend after being out for a while. and it's going to be good to see how he goes. I'm sure he's going to be pumped up, full of adrenaline to get into this game and be one of the mainstays of that South African pack again. They lose nothing on the other side of the ruck, and that's going to be Peter Steph du Toit. Had a great game last weekend, I thought, against Italy. He's just so good on those inside channels, but every now and again we also see him out wide, and he's getting that unsuspecting pass to run down the side of the field. So that's another part of Peter Steph du Toit's game that I'm very, very impressed with. So great to see him back. Then in the locks this weekend, well, I didn't think much of Salman Morat last weekend, so we're seeing a change this weekend, and we're going to see Ruan Nortje coming in with Eben Etzebeth. And I think this is going to be the locking pair that we're going to see go forward into the Rugby Championship. I think both of these guys are got big potential in terms of winning line-out ball, and that's going to be a very important part of Rassie's game plan. So now moving into the front row, and it's a whole new front row. Surprise, surprise from Rassie. All debutants coming in to play this game against Georgia. I haven't seen these guys play at all, so I'm going to be very interested to see Fouchier, Van der Merwe and Boan Venter. So 3 big guys I'm sure I'm going to be keeping my eye out on, and I'll give you my report after the game what I thought of those new guys coming in. But congratulations to them all getting their first cap for the Springboks this weekend, and Rassie rings in the changes again. So that's the starting 8 for the Springboks. I think this is a really good pack. It's great to see Kolesi back with Peter Steph du Toit and Etzebeth and Nortje. I think they're going to be ball-winning machines in the 4 and 5 jersey this weekend. So let's have a look at the bench that's going to come on for the Springboks, and it's going to be in the front row Bonami, Thomas du Toit and Vincent Cox. So a very experienced bench to come on, and I'm sure if there's any problems at all in the first half, we're going to see Rassie pull the parachute and get these guys on straight away, but I don't think there's going to be any problems at all. And then the other 2 forwards that we're going to see, because we're going to see a 5-3 split from Rassie this weekend, unusual, that's for sure. And then the last 2 forward replacements coming on for this game for the Springboks are going to be R.G. Schneemann and Quagga Smith. Love these 2 guys. I think they both bring something different to the Springboks coming off the bench. And that's a really good plan for Rassie, to have these different types of players that can come on and make a difference. R.G. Schneemann, of course, have got those huge wing-like arm span that goes out for a mile. And we always see him do fantastic offloads and getting people through breaks. So watch him and Grant Williams making a difference. I think that's going to be a big one when he comes on. And then in the backs, we're going to see the 3 backs off the bench are going to be Faf de Klerk at halfback, Andre Bollard utility back, and Damien Willemse also capable of covering several positions. I think this is a really, really good team by Rassie. I think this is giving us an indication with a bit of rugby championship in the future. I think he wants to see how Andre Bollard can give stability off the bench if it's needed. Faf de Klerk, of course, is coming back into the team this season, so he's getting another opportunity to be an impact player off the bench. And of course, we all know the brilliance of Damien Willemse, and to have a guy like him being able to come off the bench, it doesn't get much better, I think, in world rugby. So this is a tremendous team from Rassie. Now, what do I think is the game plan going to be, and what is Rassie wanting from this group this weekend? Well, there wasn't too much to be critical of the Springboks in their last game against Italy, but if I was looking at fine-tuning this team, I'd be asking them to be better around the discipline. I think that fell away last week. We saw that incident from Visa, and we also saw a couple of other things that happened off the ball that weren't too smart as well, and I think Rassie would have talked about that in the debrief of the last game. So look for the discipline from the Springboks being better this weekend, not getting themselves involved in silly altercations, and also not giving away too many penalties through other incidences on and off the ball. I think another thing Rassie's going to be looking for from this group this weekend is going to be an 80-minute performance. We saw last weekend in the second half it got a little bit scrappy for a while as the bench came on and the rhythms and the combinations got a little bit fragmented. I think Rassie's going to want to see better execution, particularly if they start off really well with this Georgia team. And let's say they've got 25 or 30 points up by half time, he's going to want to see them take the advantage of that. Now, these 2 teams have only played once before. It was a win to the Springboks by 40 points to 8. So given their outing last weekend against Italy, I think the Springboks have a definite potential of being able to put on a lot more points against this Georgia team, particularly with that incredible backline they've got and that danger out wide with Rassie at fullback and Ardensa and Van der Merwe on the wings. I think the Boks can put on more than 60 points in this game against Georgia if they start off really well, but more importantly if they keep it going in the second half. And I think that's something we're going to be really looking forward to see what the impact of the Springbok bench is, but also whether the combinations and the rhythm of the game can keep going after half time. That's going to be really make the difference whether or not they can get to that 60 points or not. I'm going to be looking at how dominant the scrum is over Georgia. Georgia have got a very good scrum pack, and I expect them to give the Springboks some problems up front in the early minutes of this game, but I don't think it'll take the Springboks long to get dominance in the forwards, so watch out for that. Grant Williams and Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu is going to be another area that I'm going to watch keenly, and I'm sure Rassie is as well, because with my crystal ball on, I think this is the combination that could become the first day combination in 9 and 10 for the Springboks as we get closer to the Rugby World Cup in Australia. I think both of these guys have the ability to really ignite a game, and we might see the likes of Mani Lebok coming off the bench. Those are my initial thoughts around that. So I think the way those two play this weekend is going to be interesting. Also the midfield combination, as I mentioned, Dialandi and Kanan Moody, how are those two going to go together? Another area I'm going to be watching very closely in this game is going to be the speed of the breakdown. As we head into the Rugby Championship competition this year, that's going to be a vital area of the game. And watching Kalesi and Visa and Peter Steph Toy get in there, and Quagga Smith when he comes off the bench, I want to see what the paces the Springboks can bring to getting that ball out, cleaning it out cleanly, and giving Grant Williams and Sasha Feinberg and Ngomazulu a good platform to be able to build their creative playoff. So that's another area they're going to watch closely in this game. I think it's going to be a good game. I think the Springboks are going to have too much firepower both up front and out the back line, and I'm going to be really interested to see how both those combinations work. But let's see what Georgia can do. They put up a good fight for a while against Ireland in their recent game, but are they going to be able to hang with the Springboks in Mbombela Stadium? I don't think they are. I think they might stay in it for 10 or 15 minutes, and then I think they're going to get blown away off the park if the Springboks can play to their potential. I think that's going to be a real key to this game, to see whether there's any breaks in momentum and how the Springboks are able to deal with that. Also their kicking strategy in this game. How good are they going to be off the kicking tee as well? The percentages need to be very high. Again, I think this is going to be an element within the Rugby Championship competition that's going to be a real differentiator. Those players that are able to get kicks over in the high 90 or 100% in the terms of penalties and conversions, that could win or lose you a game in this year's Rugby Championship competition. So there we go. Those are my thoughts as we head into this game on Saturday at the Mbombela Stadium in Nelspruit. Let me know in the comments what you're expecting to see from this South African team. Who do you want to stand out? How's this new front row going to go? Are these players going to put on a good performance? Or are we going to see the bench used quite early in this game from Rassie? That's one of the things I'd like to know from you. What do you think of the firepower of this backline for the Springboks this weekend? Do you see a lot of tries coming from them, or do you think the forwards are going to control it first and put a lot of pressure up through the middle against this Georgian pack? I'd be interested to know your views. Okay, so there you go. Those are my thoughts around the game this weekend for the Springboks. Of course, I will be back after the game with an in-depth analysis on how the team went, looking at all the strategies that were used throughout the game, how each of the players performed, and give you my honest, transparent review on that one. Okay, well, all that's left to be said now is don't forget to follow me on Twitter as well. I'll put the link in the description of this video if you haven't already joined me there. Please hit the subscribe button, help me out there. Remember, I want to try and fill up the Twickenham Stadium with subscribers from my channel. That would be an awesome goal to achieve. I'll see you again after the show. Until then, stay safe, stay well, everybody. Enjoy your rugby across the world, and it's time to say adios from beautiful Cancun in Mexico. Bye for now.